Well, hey everybody. Welcome to welcome to the sadness, I guess. I mean, it's where we are. Came into this one and knowing that Tennessee were heavy favorites, want to say that Vegas had them at like 8 points. And the chance that Kentucky had was about Tennessee's defense not being great. You know, that was one of the things that gave us a little bit of hope. They averaged giving up 33 points a game, and what do you know? Final score 56-34. So, there's so many things we could talk about what went wrong. And we can sit here and commiserate and be sad and just focus on all the negatives all night. But really, I want to flip that script a little bit and start out by talking about Cutter Boley. 330 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. If nothing else, we have a quarterback. That next coach that we hopefully end up with is going to have a signal caller, a good playmaker to build around. And actually, I think having a quarterback already here will help us in that head coaching search. I really, really do. It's really something that gives me a little bit of hope and optimism. I mean, Jason Patterson, a freshman, 51 yards, 16 carries. He had a pretty solid night. DJ Miller, 5 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kendrick Law, 51.5 yard average. He had a crazy night. 2 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown. JJ Hester, 4 catches, 23 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, with the exception of Law, a lot of young players really stepped up and a lot of young players really made plays. So, honestly, as far as complaining, I'm going to leave offensive coordinator Bush Hamdan out of this. There were reports that I saw going around on Twitter that this is the first week that Bush Hamdan actually was given the reins to the offense, and like Stoops was hands off and just letting Bush do his own thing. And this is their best offensive performance since probably Andre Woodson. A 06, 07 time frame, if that tells you anything. As far as like pure passing numbers, like we've had some good offenses and put up good numbers, but it's been more balanced. This was basically all on Cutter Boley. Defensively, yeah, that's a big part of the complaint. Like, what were we doing defensively? There was a section of time where it just seemed like they were playing Madden and spamming 4 verts. It's like, you know what? We beat them down the sideline once. We're going to keep doing it again until they adjust and do something different and make a play and slow down this offense. And, yeah, I don't know. So what do you guys think? Like, that's a big part of the fun of this. Just so throw comments on there. Go share around. Let everybody know where you're at. And, let's all commiserate together, because I think sad football losses are better handled in groups. Granted, also learned some interesting things tonight. We'll discuss that a little bit later on with different former players and some of the things that they were saying on social media that put my antenna up a little bit and got my attention. There's there's some conversation on social media as well talking about maybe tomorrow's whenever Mitch pulls the plug on Coach Stoops. We don't know. These things are all speculative, but we will definitely, tomorrow's going to be the time we find out. Maybe there'll be some rumors start to make their way out tonight. You never know with those things. But overall, it was every Tennessee game that we played the past 5 years since Eipel's been there. Offense has shown some signs because Tennessee doesn't really play defense that well, and get beat deep, have open receivers running, give up chunk plays in the running game, not be able to get a ton of pressure. Just all of these things seem to compound. Let's see here. It's not like Kentucky, granted the turnovers were disastrous when they happened, but 2 turnovers, 1 fumble. Then there was the interception by Cutter Boley, and it was just a really, really good play by Tennessee. That the edge rusher came in and he knocked it up in the air and caught it and ran it back in. There's sometimes nothing you can do. Even when he was like, Cutter was making a safe throw out to the flat basically, and those boys are on scholarship too. Sometimes they're just going to make a really good play and make something out of it. So it wasn't, the turnovers hurt, but when the final score is 56-34, there's no, 14 points aren't going to make that huge of a difference. Again, really, the game was lost at the end of the first half. So Kentucky scores, they get it to a 1-score ball game. They're going to have the ball to come out to start the second half, and the curse of the middle 8 that has plagued Mark Stoops since he's been on the sideline at Kentucky came up and bit us. Tennessee comes down, they score a touchdown in like a minute and a half, and he's taking timeouts that's helping the offense. It's slowing things down for Tennessee. It's giving them opportunities to not have to take timeouts themselves. They may have had one. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it to make sure. But you should never be in a situation where you're taking timeouts in a spot where the offense needs timeouts and yours is the defense on the field. Just another one of those big question marks that we have, and why is it consistently that way? And there's some thoughts of why did it take so long into the season to decide to give the reins over to Cutter Boley? Did he? Granted, if we had seen anything of what the spring practices looked like, which this might be why they were so hidden, why everything was there was so much subterfuge before the season started. Why was it this seed in spring? Because it hasn't even been close once the season started. Calzada wasn't good. And that's shorting it. That's being polite. Cutter Boley in 6 starts now holds an all-time UK record with 5 touchdowns in a game for a freshman. as I've said before, there's something for this program to build around. There's something that a John Sumrall or a Will Stein or even Eric Morris at North Texas could look at and say, hey, I got a quarterback. And if you got a quarterback, you could start winning a ton of games. Regardless of, well, I would say almost regardless. It helps if you've got a head coach that can take advantage of having a good quarterback. Isn't scared of his offense, scoring points. Really, but that's where we're at. We're at that point where we're, granted, personally for me, at the beginning, probably midway through last season, I was actually at the point where it's like, look, let's start having these Mark Stoops discussions. Let's start trying to figure out who the next guy is that we bring in here. I was ready to clean house beginning of last year. And that was the moment I was like, look, let's go ahead and bring in Sumrall. Let's bring in a guy who played under Rich Brooks, who's been here, there, and everywhere. A lot of different stops, a lot of different mentors. He was here as a linebackers coach, head coach at Troy, head coach at Tulane. Their only loss is Ole Miss at Tulane. What he's doing down there is very impressive. A lot of other schools are paying attention as well. But he's probably call number one and call number two for me. Like, you make him say no twice. That's how good of a job I think he's going to do here. At every interview and game that I watched them play, it reiterates that point. That he is going to be a star. And I just hope that he's a star here in Lexington, in his home state, for his home school that gave him his diploma. Like, I think it's working in basketball. Mark Pope is ridiculous. They just knocked off. They just beat number one Purdue in that exhibition game, and they made it look easy, missing two starters. But he's brought back that passion to the fan base. That the most important thing is the name on that jersey. You know, he calls it the sacred piece of cloth. We need somebody in the football locker room in that position that's going to feel the same way. That's going to have that same level of passion. That's going to not necessarily look at the stars above their name. Like, Hope doesn't bring in a ton of the big 5 stars, the super elite. Got McDonald's All-Americans. I'm not going to say we're bringing in but he brings in the right fit of people. The ones that are going to sacrifice for teammates. They're going to do these things that are important, these small things that win games. We need that in the football locker room. You know, Cutter gets out there and he busts his butt, plays his tail off, and gives everything on that field. And we need to build around that. We need a coach that's going to build around that. Will Stein, he's the offensive coordinator at Oregon. He'll be really good. He's the reason Bo Nix is in Denver. They've had a long. Dante Moore is really, really good. Like, he's a quarterback whisperer kind of guy. Never run a program. There's questions there, but he definitely highly recommended. He's from Kentucky, well, Louisville, but he's still he knows what he would be getting himself into. So there's the fair point there. And then Eric Morris, he's another air raid guy, North Texas, does a lot of good stuff down there. Then maybe you look at Georgia Tech's offensive coordinator, whose name escapes me right now. But it's not like there aren't people that we can call that'll just be like, nah, it's Kentucky. I think Cutter Boley makes makes it an easier decision for a potential head coaching candidate. That I definitely believe. Maybe we can be a little excited for the future. If you guys have any comments, questions, whatever, things we want to discuss, throw it in there in the chat. Let me know. Because it's really really a turning point. But anyway, like, thank you guys. I'm gonna get off here, but thank you guys.